that song? Because, I mean, you were responsible for writing the musical, but not that particular song, but it kind of started you on this journey, right?
Yeah, so we had this idea for an event in 2017. We wanted to do a Parihaka night, and 5th November is coming up, and Guy Fawkes Day. I mean, honestly, when are we just going to call it Parihaka Day
Yeah.
instead of Guy Fawkes Day? It's just ridiculous. This extraordinary story, and so we did this event on the 5th of November back in 2017, and people could come and experience the story in different ways. And there was this one point that night that completely changed the tone of the evening. The whole evening was great, but when Sarah Tahiri and her family performed this original song, suddenly the story really touched the heart. So the song Under the Mountain was the beginning of the thought of making this into a stage musical, and I could feel it, like along with everyone in the room. There were tears all around the room as we listened to it, and I just felt a real deep sense, a God sense, really, that telling me you've got to turn this whole story into music and drama. And so I went up to them straight after that event and I said, "Hey, Sarah, we've got to do this whole story through music and drama." So that was the song that started it. So in the way of the Rokura now, there's Under the Mountain. There's two actually, Under the Mountain Part 1 and Part 2.
Yep.
And there's a whole bunch of other songs too, and it tells the entire story of the invasion of Parihaka.
Now, quite the journey between hearing that song for the first time and and all of the challenges to put this musical together. But wonderful to have a couple of seasons of this on the stage and something very special happening this Wednesday, of course, the 5th of November, Parihaka Day, as you call it. A screening of, essentially the stage show, which was filmed. Now, this isn't hurry now while tickets last. This is a sold out event. You've filled a big cinema for Wednesday night. But what's the vision behind taking it to cinemas, Steve? What are you hoping to achieve with this?
Well, it's kind of extraordinary. I mean, we started 8 years ago with nothing, and I hadn't even been in a stage musical, let alone written or directed one. And we performed it in 2020. We performed it 3 years later at the Bruce Mason Centre. We filmed it there. We got a really great film company to film it for us, Creation Films, and now and then we post edited that. And now it's ready to show in cinemas. And we did a trial run just last Saturday night at my church,
Yep.
and it was kind of mostly second language speakers, Asian folk who watched it. And they all loved it, and they
Wow.
all found it really. And I thought, wow, man, if for a New Zealand story to be even speaking to people might be unfamiliar with the genre and certainly less connected with New Zealand culture, and they found it really moving. And so we're excited, really looking forward to Wednesday night to actually be able to show this in a cinema with all the amazing visual and audio effects that you get there.
I mean, I saw it on the stage, but certainly looking forward to seeing it on Wednesday night as well. Going to be fantastic. Just wanted to talk briefly, though, about the reaction to this production on the stage and, as you say, the cinematic version of it from the church community, but also from the Parihaka community. What's been the response to this, Steve?
Yeah, well, recently I took a version of the film down to Parihaka and sat with them and watched it with them. And that was really important to do. I've sort of kept pace with them, been down a number of times myself and Sarah and Mark Tahiri and their whānau. And so we've sort of journeyed with them a long time on it. But to actually be able to go and show them because they hadn't seen it, they'd just seen bits of paper, script and that kind of thing. We got a great reception from them, so that was really great. And they're going to show it now also on November the 5th. They're
Wow.
showing it at Taranaki Heritage Festival down there. Yeah. So that was only part of your question. I missed the first part
Well,
of
the
it.
first part is how the church community has responded, because honestly, the church aren't necessarily the good guys of this story. True to the history, that in some ways the church was complicit with the atrocities of November the 5th at Parihaka. A difficult story to watch when you're not the good guys. What has been the response from the church, Steve?
Yeah, well, I think the gospel themes are really strong in this show. And I think, that sort of really connected well with Christian audiences. And it's not forced because it's just a telling of history.
Yeah.
But this tribe were Christian and they really stood their ground on their Christian principles. And so when I think of the Christians in the story, I think of the Parihaka people.
Yeah.
Now, when we portrayed the clergy of the time, the European clergy, we have two clergy figures. Because history shows that Archdeacon Gavet was a very influential and very important figure at the time who had a lot to do with Parihaka Māori and was fluent in te reo, and he's a good guy.
Yeah.
So it's really nice when you look back in history that you see a good guy from the church point of view.
Yeah.
But we also, a lot of the clergy weren't like that, and a lot of them sided with the settlers against the Māori.
Yeah.
And so we have another guy, a reverend, who's like a bad reverend, as we would see it now.
Yeah.
And he sort of represents the more compromised clergy of the day, which were the majority as far as we can sort of see when we read the history books.
Now, the cinema screening on Wednesday, but hey, it's sold out, which shows that there is a demand for this story. Any thoughts on what happens next for this? For people listening to this, they go, "Oh, I would have liked to have got tickets for that. I'd love to hear this story." For you and the team, what's the process next? Other ways of getting this story out there so that the Parihaka story can be known?
Yeah, so we've been asked by a number of churches, could they show it at their church? And probably the answer is yes. We don't want to get ahead of Parihaka, so we don't want them to be surprised by what we are doing. It's just respect.
Mm-hmm.
And so we thought we'd go up to the 5th of November. They're showing it down there at Taranaki. We're showing it here in Auckland. And then we'll talk with them again. But we've been asked by churches, we've been asked by schools, can they use it as part of their teaching curriculum? Some schools have wanted to perform it. We would love to be able to do all of those things, but we'll just take it one at a time and see how it unfolds and keep pace with Parihaka.
And hey, as we said at the beginning, maybe in future, not Guy Fawkes Day, but Parihaka Day, acknowledged, commemorated as a nation. I also understand that some of the music from the show, this is also being available if people wanted to connect with this. How can they connect with some of the songs and the messages within them, Steve?
Yeah, so just probably about an hour ago, we hit go with music distributors who are putting the songs from the show on Spotify and Apple.
Wow.
And they should be available later today. And that's the thing, when you show a brand new musical, no one knows the songs.
Yeah.
And obviously, you just heard one just now, played Under the Mountain, and we're going to hear another one soon. But songs are important. I mean, the reason that listeners would go to a show like Les Miserables or Hairspray or whatever, Hamilton or whatever that you love, the reason you go to those shows is because you love the music, right? And so we've never, getting the music online, getting it all edited up, ready to go, it's a huge process, an expensive process. And so this is what it's kind of taken us 8 years since we first started dreaming to 2 seasons of performing, making a film, and now songs ready to go online. So if you have seen the show and you remember some of the songs, do look it up. Have a look on Spotify or Apple and search up Parihaka Musical. You'll find it there, and 25 tracks from the show. So pretty much the majority of the soundtrack is online.
And hey, a challenge for people who don't know the Parihaka story to connect with it through the music, through the musical, and to commemorate the 5th of November in a special way. Steve, thank you for your passion, your continued enthusiasm for this. The song that we're about to hear is a beautiful but tragic song. It is at the turning point of the story as the colonial troops invade the peaceful pa at Parihaka. The song is Traveller. Set the scene for us as just before we play the song, Steve.
Yeah, well, this is kind of the most, for me, I can't think of a more profound moment in New Zealand history. At a time of war, an invading army, a Crown Army, 600 soldiers marching on Parihaka, which turned out to be a pacifist village, even though there've been, people, the propaganda that they were all kinds of violent and dangerous and all the rest of it. But they get there, and so instead of this massive shootout and this bloodshed, and Maori up in the hills with their guns and picking off people and all this kind of thing, and this huge disastrous kind of moment of war that it could have been, instead of that, these girls come out singing to the soldiers, and they bring out and they offer baking to the soldiers, and it's this extraordinary moment of grace in our history. It
Yeah,
just
yeah,
it blows my mind so much.
yeah,
And I had to kind of think to myself now, like close my eyes and just imagine what would that sound like? What simple kind of melody might they have sung? And of course, we don't know exactly.
yeah.
There's no record of exactly what it was, but in our imaginations, this is what it sounded like, and that's the track that you've got there.
Steve,
Called
thank you very much again for what you do. Thanks for being on the program today.
My pleasure.
Hey, thanks very much for joining us in the Rhema studio. Thanks very much for watching the interview. It's kind of nice to have an audience, actually. And if you did like what you watched, then do give us a like, do give us the thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more interviews like that one, or perhaps even better, subscribe and those interviews will come straight to you. Don't forget to turn on your notifications, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.